On the surface, Chris Benoit enjoyed an idyllic life. He was a wealthy family man, highly devoted to his wife and children. He was an accomplished athlete with a 20-year wrestling career, having performed for promotions the world over. And he was widely considered to be one of the best performers of all time, with many accolades to his name. But on June the 25th, 2007, the legacy of Chris Benoit was tainted forever. On that day, police made a horrific discovery in the Benoit family home. 3 dead bodies. 2 have been murdered, 1 had committed suicide. The first 2 bodies belonged to Nancy and Danielle Benoit, Chris's wife and 7-year-old son, and the 3rd body, found hanging from a weight machine, was Chris himself. Many facts of the case remain ambiguous, but what is clear is that Chris Benoit gradually descended into madness, culminating in the murder of his own family. For his entire career, Chris Benoit was known as a focused, intense individual who was always a consummate professional. But several months before the tragedy, Chris's behaviour became increasingly erratic. Instead of the rational, level-headed character he was known for, Chris Benoit began to suffer extreme bouts of paranoia. He began to take different routes to the gym and airports, claiming that he was being followed. He wouldn't let his family leave their home for fear of them coming under harm. On several occasions, he claimed he was on the edge of being fired by World Wrestling Entertainment. Few people sensed Chris's decline in mental stability as it was happening. But Nancy Benoit, Chris's wife, noticed something wasn't right. The day before her murder, she called a friend of hers and said, "I'm scared to death. If anything happens to me, look at Chris." The following day, on June the 22nd, 2007, Chris returned from a routine visit to his doctor in the afternoon. He had picked up a month's supply of enhancement drugs. He returned to find his wife and son barbecuing dinner in their back garden. That same evening would be the last night of Nancy's life. On the 2nd floor of their home, while their son slept on the other side of the house, Chris attacked Nancy from behind. Chris overpowered Nancy before restraining her hands and feet with black tape. With his knee lodged against her spine, Chris wrapped a TV cable around Nancy's neck and strangled her. A small pool of blood lay below Nancy's face, suggesting that perhaps Chris had initially disorientated her by forcing her head into the ground. Once Nancy had passed away, Chris placed a Bible next to her dead body. Danielle Benoit slept, unaware of the horrors unfolding on the other side of the house. As late night turned to early morning, Chris Benoit trekked across to the house to his son's room. 7-year-old Danielle was his father's biggest fan. His bedroom was adorned with posters and figurines of his dad, along with replica versions of the championship belts his father had won. Chris woke Danielle before plying him with Xanax. As he fell into a disorientated state, Chris strangled the life from his son. This time there was no struggle or altercation, as it was likely that Daniel wasn't conscious when he was killed. It was now the early hours of the morning on June the 23rd, 2007. That evening, Chris was scheduled to be at a WWE show in Texas. On the afternoon, Chris spoke to his friend and colleague Chavo Guerrero on the phone, while the dead bodies of his family lay in separate rooms of his home. On the call, Chris told his friend that his family was sick, but he'd still make the evening show. He then told his friend, "I love you," uncharacteristic comment for the usually ice-cold Benoit. Around 4 a.m. the next morning, Chris sent out several text messages to colleagues of his within the WWE. They simply stated his home address along with, "The dogs are in the enclosed pool area. Garage side door is open." After that, no one would hear from Chris Benoit again. By the evening of June the 24th, 2007, Chris had now missed 2 WWE shows and wasn't picking up any calls. By the afternoon on Monday the 25th of June, Benoit's colleagues became concerned. Police were dispatched to his house for a welfare check. Inside, they discovered the worst. The house was immediately labelled a crime scene. Authorities first discovered the dead bodies of Nancy and Daniel Benoit. As they scoured the home, they discovered the hanging body of Chris Benoit in his basement gym. He'd fastened the steel cord of a weight machine into a noose as the weights were raised, then released, instantly snapping his own neck. According to investigators, the process required inhumane strength. It took 24 hours before the case was officially labelled a murder-suicide. Fans, researchers and investigators frantically searched for a possible motive for the crime, but with little success. In the months following the incident, the brain of Chris Benoit was examined by medical personnel, stemming from years of physical trauma to the head. They discovered that Benoit's brain closely resembled that of an 85-year-old Alzheimer's patient. While this partly explains Chris Benoit's state of mind during his final days, it does not fully reveal his motivations for killing his family. Since the incident, Chris Benoit has been whitewashed from wrestling history. Conspiracy theories continue to this day about what drove Chris Benoit to commit such a horrific deeds. But the truth behind his true motivations will likely remain a mystery forever.